Why, hello. We're live. Welcome to the Refuge channel.
You sound so awake, Mr. Heath.
Well, I started thinking about, I am awake actually. I just started thinking about like all the reality of, things happening in the current days and, prophetic implications and all of the things. And it's like, it's very sobering.
Because due to the increase in lawlessness, the love of many will grow cold.
That's exactly it.
I feel like I've seen that somewhere. Good morning. My name is TJ Morris, founder and CEO of Refuge Medical. This is my brother Heath. He's with our training division here at Refuge Medical. He's also at various times been fulfillment, customer service, crash test dummy, emotional support human.
That was mine.
Primarily yours, but we lease him out on occasion as needed for emotional support human.
If you need to talk, reach out.
Straight up.
Seriously.
For real.
Seriously, I've done that.
Yeah.
I want to help you if you need it.
Talked a person or two off of a ledge on occasion.
I have,
Yep,
absolutely.
praise ya.
And it's an honor to be able to be used by the Most High in that capacity.
So, unless you're living underneath a rock, you're probably tracking on the Arena stabbing on light rail.
Yeah.
And Charlie Kirk was shot. And I've been getting a lot of messages about this. There's a couple of things I want to address. The first is the sentiment that has been shared, even by some of y'all, is that we are not meant to see things like this. I have to respectfully disagree with you. We are living in a statistical anomaly as far as civilizations and societies are concerned. Where right now, even as bad as things seem that they are, and that they're not great, boys and girls, we are in a very peaceful period of time for humanity right now. We are meant to see these things. I don't know how many people, I was doom scrolling X yesterday evening and I heard and saw so many people going, don't watch the close-up footage of Charlie getting shot. It's traumatic. Yeah, it is. It's literally traumatic because pre-hospital trauma medicine, that's what a critical bleed looks like.
That's what it literally means.
That's a critical bleed.
That's trauma.
Okay? Trauma is massive hemorrhage. It's critical bleeding. And maybe I'm jaded. Maybe I've just seen a lot of stuff. I don't know. But there was no, oh my goodness, when I saw that. I was like, yup, that's bad. And he's got the Tourniquet posturing, so there's CNS, there's TBI. This is, it's bad. Survivability of that's essentially zero.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you need to willfully engage with imagery that looks like that.
Yeah.
But I am saying that imagery that looks like that is the statistical norm for humanity.
Yeah.
Okay? And so we as a society have gotten rather soft and I'm not for the senseless loss of life. Man was 31 years old. He was a follower of Christ. He had a wife and two very young children.
I'm 36.
And he was assassinated for his political beliefs.
Right.
And people don't realize that whoever perpetrated this attack, what they don't realize is you killed maybe the last guy who was willing to have a conversation with people that disagree with him. And there's a whole subset of the American population that has been effectively radicalized in the last 12 hours. And that may be the point. That may have been the point of this entire situation, whether it was a lone deranged gunman or it was an operation, regardless of how it might have gone down. And it's too early to tell yet.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the point. But that's what a critical bleed looks like. And so between Arena and Charlie, I've had a lot of people, the second thing that they've reached out and have said is, maybe you guys should consider addressing neck wounds. It seems like there's a lot of neck wounds going around, and I must politely say, maybe you should bring your ass to class or watch the free trauma medicine playlist. There's 4 hours
Please.
of content, or watch the webinar, because neck wound is M part 2 in the March algorithm.
Right here.
Junctional areas. Our junctional areas are our neck, our shoulders, our pelvic girdle, okay? And we wound pack in those areas. Can't put a tourniquet on the neck. Well, you can, only once, okay? We don't tourniquet the neck. We can't tourniquet the shoulders or the pelvic girdle because they're ball joints and they move, okay? So what do? We use gauze to apply well-aimed direct pressure to pinch off the bleeding vessel, to turn the garden hose off. And if you saw the Charlie footage, now you understand what I mean when I say turn the garden hose off. That was a significant amount of blood very quickly, okay? And so we have a time problem. Maybe for the first time ever, there's a whole bunch of people that are now beginning to understand what I mean when I say critical bleeding. Beginning to understand what I mean when I say we have a time problem. Beginning to understand what I mean when I say, oh shit, bleeding. That's oh shit, bleeding.
Yep.
If we don't handle it right now, we got problems. So in our neck, you got carotid, you got jugular, you've got airway. This is a pretty difficult area as far as survivability is concerned.
Yep.
I don't believe that the assassin intended to target the neck. My guess, and it's just a guess at this point, is if the shot was at 200 yards approximately, that the shooter probably had 100 yard zero on their optic, and when they aimed for center of the head, they got about a 4-inch bullet drop.
Yep.
Now, I have replayed that video over and over and over and over and over again, at least 20 times. And it appears as if, and I don't know, so this is just conjecture and opinion. It appears as if he may have had plates on underneath his shirt, and the bullet impacted top left just inside of his shoulder joint. So top left on the edge of the plate, and then he caught ricochet, if not spalling, up underneath the jaw. I don't know that. It could have also been just the movement of air from the bullet that caused his shirt to puff out here, right? Just to the left of the heart, and then he ends up with a neck wound. Now, if he was shot straight in the neck, I would expect to, especially from a 5.56, expect to see an exit wound.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't see an exit wound. And where the wound was like right here. And again, we know that there was CNS involvement because he immediately locked up at the elbows like this, Tourniquet posturing, and you can watch as he's falling off of the chair. He's locked up like this, falling sideways.
But what is CNS for those?
Central nervous system, right? And if he had spalling up through the bottom of his jaw, up towards the brain stem, that's textbook TBI, which is where we'd expect to see Tourniquet posturing, because he locked up, literally knife hands, locked up like this, elbows at a 90 degree rather, and sideways off with the chair. And in order to get that from that angle of approach, if it was shot into the neck, I'd expect to see an exit wound out the back. I didn't catch that from the video. So it seems as if it's possible that he was hit, if he had a plate on, top edge of the plate, which then kicked the round up underneath his chin, and then bullet projectile lodged base of the brain, Tourniquet posturing, falls sideways. I don't know. I wasn't there. All I've seen is the footage that everybody else has seen, and the long and short of it is, it doesn't matter. How do we deal with this bleed right here in the neck? And so, Lauren, if you can bring the camera over here, I'm going to show you, for everybody who's never come to class, or it's been a while since you've come to class, what do we do for wounds in the junctional areas, which again is our neck, whether that's a stabbing or a bullet or an impalement or whatever it might be, laceration, our shoulders and our pelvic girdle. Okay. Does that work for you?
Yep.
Rowan, is that good for you?
Yep.
Okay. You want to grab the...
Sure do.
All right. So here's blood. Here's a wound. Okay? Yeah, it's leaking. You know what? Just do this. Just dump a bunch of blood in there. Oh no, that's a lot of blood. This
Need
is
to work
gauze,
this
regular
seat.
old compressed gauze. We'll put a knot in the end, and I'm going to go in here first, and I'm going to feel for the source of bleeding. That source of bleeding, because we've got an artery here, generally speaking, is going to have a pulse, even a faint pulse. And so what am I feeling for? I'm feeling for that, and I'm applying pressure with my left finger to the garden hose to pinch the hose off to stop the bleeding.
Yep.
Next, I'm going to take this knot in the end of the gauze here. I'm going to go right to that source of bleeding. I'm going to hold that on the source of bleeding.
No,
Okay.
real quick, when you take the compressed gauze or your hemostatic gauze out of the packaging, it will not have a knot in it. It's important that you fluff it out and you actually tie a knot in the end,
Yep.
because that's going to be your initial source of pressure on the arterial bleed.
So now holding pressure on the bleeding vessel, I'm going to take my other finger, I'm going to get a gather here over the wound. I'm going to stuff that into the wound. This is wound packing. I'm packing the wound with gauze while holding pressure. What I'm not doing is coming in and out, because every time I come out, I lose pressure on that bleeding vessel. I'm holding pressure on that vessel and getting as much gauze into the wound channel as I can until I cannot get any more gauze in there because my finger's occupying that space.
Yep.
When I do that, I'm going to roll this gauze onto that bleeding vessel, still holding pressure now, and I'm going to continue to pack the wound north, south, east, and west, because especially bullet wounds, have geometry. If you've ever seen ballistic gel shot on YouTube, you know what it looks like, the geometry of a bullet wound. And bullets don't follow a specific trajectory through the body. They make left and right turns, continuing to hold pressure, getting as much of this in there as I can. And the whole point of this gauze is not to just gently fill the wound to soak up blood to form a clot. Arteries blow out clots.
Yep.
Because they're high pressure, they're large diameter. So even if I can achieve a clot with an artery, it's likely that that clot's going to blow out. It's not about forming a clot. It's about applying pressure from the gauze down through the gauze to pinch off the garden hose to turn the bleed off.
Yep.
And then I would back this with a pressure bandage here to hold pressure on this gauze to turn the bleeding off. That's wound packing in a nutshell. That's what we do for wounds in the junctional area.
Yep.
Okay. And I also want to show this for everybody out there who's like, well, I carry a tampon in my first aid kit. Well, you're stupid. All right, you go ahead and set that bottle down, Mr. Heath.
Yep.
Hold that into the gauze. That's 12 foot of 6-ply gauze, okay? And you may need more, depending on the wound and the location.
A tampon is legitimately barely a 3x3 square that's folded up.
And they don't work, okay?
They don't work.
I love how
But
men
they're
always
also-
like, "Use that," and the women are like, really?
Well,
No.
they're also covered in an anticoagulant chemical,
Yeah.
which
so
means it does not promote the clotting of blood.
they encourage the flow of blood.
They encourage the flow. So that's
That's the opposite of what we want.
that's exactly the opposite of what we want.
So for everybody who's like, man, I think you guys need to start addressing neck wounds in your curriculum, I would gently offer to you, I think you need to get far more familiar with our curriculum. Because we've been teaching this for years, at
Okay,
least
paper
half a
towel real
decade.
quick.
We got a little, you know what? We've broken it in. We got blood on the laser.
Hey, what a day.
Welcome, laser. You're welcome, Terry. So, next thing I want to address is the whole concept of the 200-yard shot onto Charlie. This is not hyperbole. During COVID, we homeschooled our children, and I was in charge of teaching the class Marksmanship. And as part of our Marksmanship class for our students, which at the time were ranging, let's say, between 10 and 10 and 15, we got a pile of parts, and all of our students built their own AR-15 rifles.
Yep.
With 1 to 6 LVPOs on them. Standard 16-inch barrel, nothing fancy, but absolutely serviceable weapons platforms. They built them from a pile of parts to functional weapons platform.
Which is a great class, by the way. That's a fantastic idea,
It was great.
especially for homeschooling.
Yeah, very tactile,
Yeah.
right? And then we went and we zeroed them at 100 yards. And then we went and we shot them at 300 yards. And in an hour, I had children who had very little to no experience behind a rifle consistently hitting a half-size silhouette target at 300 yards.
That's what, 9 by 12?
Yeah, without trying, okay? Some of the students were so good that I was like, hey, you just shoot the head box, a little 4x4 square on the top of the plate. And they were.
Yeah.
With bulk 55 grain ammunition and a rifle that had been built for 2 hours at this point.
Yeah.
Okay? It's not hard to make a 200-yard shot from a stable position on top of an elevated position on a roof line from the prone. It's not a difficult shot to execute.
Oh, yeah.
And so I've seen a lot of people saying, must have been a sniper. Probably not. Was there some level of training? Probably. But was it a sniper? No. If it was a sniper, Charlie Kirk would have ceased to have had a head, would be my guess there.
I mean, realistically, I can do that standing, kneeling, in the prone, all major positions, unassisted at 300 yards and not miss a shot.
Yep.
That's 100 yards more than what this shot was executed at. It's not a difficult shot by any stretch of the imagination.
Somebody said he was shot with a bolt action rifle.
Whatever. Okay. Bolt action rifle. Cool.
Those details don't matter, especially in marksmanship.
Single
It's just,
shot. Give me a single shot rifle.
Right.
Our homeschooling marksmanship students were executing shots with a 22 caliber rifle on those same size silhouette targets at 225 yards with the bullet drop on a 22 at 225 yards consistently.
Yeah.
Okay. Open sights and magnified optics, and open sights included. So the weapons platform itself doesn't matter. It's the external ballistics that matter, how the bullet flies through the air.
Yeah.
So whatever he may or may not have been shot with, the idea that it's a difficult shot to make at 200 yards, that's not a difficult shot. In fact, it's a very common zero for deer hunting, because a 200 shot zero, because that's on average, depending on where you live, that's going to be where you're going to be shooting deer at.
Yep.
So you zero at 200. And you've got a large enough, what they call a kill box, that if you have some fluctuation, high or low in that round, as long as I got a dead hold at 200, I'm going to snake that round into the vital organs of that animal, and it's going to be a confirmed kill, if you will. So it's not a difficult shot to make. That doesn't mean that there wasn't planning and coordination here. So just so we're all on the same page here, I know people like to deal in absolutes. Well, if it's not a difficult shot, then maybe it was a lone gunman. I didn't say that. I'm just saying that the shot itself, the rifle that I have in my truck with a 1-8 on it, we were just out in Wyoming, and I was smacking steel out to 550 meters with that rifle with a good 100-meter zero and subtensions in my optic. It was not a problem to shoot silhouette-sized targets without thinking about it, standing, seated, kneeling, prone, okay, at 550 all day using bulk 55 grain ammo, nothing special.
Yep.
And so much so that I might have ruined some new shooters who'd never shot before. Where I was like, here's all you have to do, okay? See that there's a 4 line and a 6 line? They're like, okay, and then there's a center post. They're like, yep. I said, all right, I want you to put the 6 line at the bottom of the target, okay? Just so put the 6 line just at the bottom of the target, hold right there, okay? Safety off, just gentle squeeze on the trigger. Boom. Ting.
Ting.
Awesome.
Yep.
Do it again. Boom. Ting. Boom. Ting. At 550, people have never shot a rifle before in their life. So it doesn't mean that there wasn't collusion here, that there isn't some grand conspiracy. We don't know any of that yet. But executing the shot itself is not indicative of this had to have been a sniper, because I have children who can do that, no questions asked.
Yep.
Thoughts?
I mean, you're 100% correct. The biggest factor to me is people perish for lack of knowledge. You just don't know what you don't know, which leads you down this whole imaginary rabbit trail of nonsense perpetuated by your own mind versus fact and reality. So I'd encourage everybody to get out there, get experience with shooting a firearm, get experience with some form of medical training, whether it be Refuge training or any other outfit out there that teaches
Real stuff.
real stuff. Like, this is necessary, especially in this day and age. We just cannot afford to be without the knowledge that we've gone without for so long.
You know, I saw a lot with this Irina stabbing the Ukrainian girl on the light rail.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of question and comment there about what would you do if this was your daughter? Oh, well, I'd burn everything to the ground. Simple as that. What would you have done if you were on that light rail with her? Okay, well, the individual who perpetrated this attack would never have to worry about a jury of his peers. We'll start with that.
Yep.
Why? Because I literally don't walk out of my own bedroom without a firearm on me. Like, literally, and right next to my bed, there's a long gun, and I don't leave my own bedroom without a firearm on me. The first thing I do when I get up in the morning, before I brush my teeth, gun, holster, waistband. The last thing I do before I go to bed, after I brush my teeth, is gun out of holster, put up. Okay, now it's bedtime, all right? And then med. What could we have done for Irina? I just showed you. We pack the wound, we apply pressure, we hold pressure. Hemostatics are great. If I can get them, if I can, I'll use whatever. I'll use his shirt, my shirt, your socks, Jimmy's underwear, I don't care. Whatever I can get into that wound to hold pressure on the bleeding vessel.
But it's not sterile.
Who cares? Sterility in pre-hospital medicine's for me. It's not for the patient.
Right.
It's BSI, body substance isolation, because I don't know what the patient might have. Whatever it is that made the hole in the patient in the first place wasn't sterile either.
Right.
Okay, so if the patient survives to the hospital, somewhere in between the point of injury and the hospital, they're going to receive massive doses of broad spectrum antibiotics because they already had a break in their largest organ, which is your skin,
Yep.
which is specifically designed to keep the outside world out because the outside world is nasty. I didn't make holes in their skin. I'm trying to plug the holes in their skin. So sterility's for me. It's not for the patient. You good? Okay. I want to read to you from Penny, life number 155.
Praise Yah.
Praise Yah. This comes from Penny, longtime customer of Refuge. Not sure who to send this to. First of all, thank you for providing top quality medical supplies and equipment. I've heard Bear say many times, you can't put a price on a life. He was so right. And until you faced a situation like Saturday night, you have a very clear understanding of those words he says over and over again. I was visiting family in Florida from Virginia. August 30th, around 9 p.m. when we were leaving a family friend's house we were visiting. We're traveling south on US 1 between Mims, Florida and Titusville, Florida. My niece in the back seat said, I saw something in the road. We realized very quickly it was an accident. It was a car versus motorcycle. We couldn't see lights from either one because of their position on the road. It was very dangerous. We pulled over. I jumped out of the car and went to grab my adventure kit. I quickly realized I'd taken it out of my car earlier in the day to bandage my daughter's finger that got sliced. Not too bad. Well, I was teaching her how to make applesauce. Thank goodness I had backups for my backups, as Bear says. I grabbed my SOB and my OPFAC. I ran to the scene and asked if someone had called 911. They said someone was on the phone with them now. I assessed the guy who was riding the motorcycle while I put on my gloves. Yup, BSI, body substance isolation. He was awake and moaning. Okay, so AVPU, alert, verbal, pain, unconscious, right?
Yep.
This is not alert, somewhere between verbal and pain. So as we move through AVPU, we move from alert to verbal only, to then only response to pain stimulus, to then unconscious. We have a degradation in the level of consciousness of the patient.
That's AVPU.
Yep, AVPU. All right. Assess the guy who was riding the motorcycle. I put my gloves on. He was awake and moaning. He had a compound fracture near his right ankle and was bleeding bad. His leg was moving, but not his foot. Yeah, that's usually an indicator. Floppiness.
Yep.
What are the ABCs? You remember?
A, bone coming out of the skin is bad.
That's right. Yep. Don't violate the ABCs. He had a laceration on his head. I believe he must have had a helmet on and someone took it off before I got there. Otherwise, I would have expected to see more damage to his head. Cuts, small cuts on his arms. I decided the leg needed to be addressed first. Correct. Why leg first?
Good job, Penny.
Big hose. We fix leaks in the big hoses first.
Yep.
Then we go to medium hoses, then we go to small hoses. All right, I went to apply the tourniquet to the man's leg. The injured man's friend spoke no English, or the injured man himself. And this is super important. If you've been to class, when we teach the S and S March E, our priorities for scene safety, who's the most important? Heath?
Myself.
Who's the next important?
My partner.
Then who?
The bystanders.
And then who?
And then the patient.
Bystander. It's number 3, huge variable. Huge variable. I have seen this, witnessed this, lived this dozens of times. The bystander makes or breaks a situation.
Yep.
You can either get them on your team, you can get them out of the way, or you can disengage.
Yep.
All right, so bystander. Spoke no English. As I'm putting the tourniquet on high and tight on his thigh, his friend is pulling it down. I think he thought it should be closer to the wound on his leg. It was a tug of war. I finally got it close to where it should be, but not all the way, and I quickly started to tighten it so that he could not pull it down. The injured man began to scream as I tightened it down. His friend again tried to stop me. Now, this is part of, like, let's say Heath and I are there.
Yeah.
One of us is going to have to render aid. Well, one of us is going to have to control the bystander. And if the bystander becomes a threat, we move out of medicine and back into security. Simple as that. And so one of the ways that you can deal with this is make space in between the bystanders and the casualties.
Yeah. Scene safety never stops.
Correct. 360 degrees around. Security is a 360 job.
Which,
all right.
Real quick,
Go
it
ahead.
actually presents the idea of just how important it is to be able to maintain your peripheral vision.
Mm-hmm.
Because we teach, fingies, this is my peripheral. I can see my fingers moving on both sides. But once you enter into a scenario like this, it's very easy for that vision to do this right here, to where you literally cannot see anything on either side of your shoulders.
Yep. And there's 2 ways to deal with that. One is preemptive, which is breathe. Okay. So you breathe beforehand. If your brain runs on oxygen, just like think of a car, right? You got a race car and you're racing that sucker. If I'm driving really fast, am I going to use more fuel or less fuel? More fuel. Well, when your brain goes into problem-solving mode in situations like this, it's running really fast. It's using more fuel.
More oxygen.
I need to give it more fuel. I need to breathe intentionally before I get engaged and locked in. And so what breathing will do is keep your peripheral vision from collapsing too far into what's called tunnel vision. So breathing mitigates a loss in visual acuity. What it won't do once you're stimulated by stress is restore peripheral vision.
Yep.
So it's preemptive. So I have to be intentionally breathing before this happens. Otherwise, all I've got is this that I'm working with.
Yep.
And so then if all I've got is this, And everybody responds to stress stimuli differently, which is why we debrief individual students in class on these 4 things: eyes, ears, hands, wristwatch, visual acuity, auditory inclusion or exclusion, time compression or extension, and the loss of fine motor skills, because it's individual to each individual student. If all I've got is this now, well, I better use it, okay? So you have to scan, move this around until you put distance in between you and the stress stimuli, which then allows your vision to increase back to your standard baseline of what you're walking around with every day as far as peripheral vision is concerned. Because if we don't have situational awareness, then we get locked in on this stimulus right here, and we miss the threat that's coming. In this case, could be another vehicle on the road. And if I have auditory exclusion, I'm not hearing somebody laying on the horn, and I get full auditory exclusion. Visual acuity goes through the roof, but I can't hear anything. And I know that about me. And Heath knows that about me. So if he needs my attention, he has to put his hand on me, physically move me, because yelling at me or trying to call for me on the radio, I won't hear you. My ears just turn off.
I'm the opposite. If I'm not consciously going through the process of breathing, and I'm like reminding myself of this, breathe, talking myself through that process, I will go into tunnel vision. But I hear everything.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
So it's very interesting, to say the least, because like I can hear what's going on, but even sometimes in the hearing of what's going on, you're not able to process it because you're not breathing.
You already forget to breathe on a daily basis. So
I've held my breath. I have 6 sisters, and they all made fun of me growing up for it. You know, just like.
Just sit there, all of a sudden you hear them go.
I've actually caught you doing that. So breathing is a superpower.
It is.
Right? And
it really is.
And you have to remind yourself to breathe. It seems super basic, but every time you breathe, you're slamming high octane fuel into the engine that is your brain. And when your brain is stressed, it needs more fuel, and it needs it now. All right, so let's continue with this debrief that Penny sent in. All right, let's see. I finally got it close, the tourniquet, close to where it should be. Quickly started to tighten it so he could not put it down. The injured man began to scream as I tightened it down. His friend again tried to stop me. Kept pushing his hand away. Finally, I got one twist past bad words. I wrote the time at 9:06 on the tab. Now, in training, we turn the windlass 1 turn past bad words. In real life, we turn the windlass until we have visually observed that the bleeding has stopped. Okay. I wrote on the time tab 9:06. I will never forget that time.
Can I touch on that real quick?
Yep.
And the reason, so you have to realize that pain is subjective. There's no objectivity to pain. My pain tolerance is significantly higher than my wife's pain tolerance. So 1 turn past bad words is different for us. However, it should get us close enough to the idea of, okay, so, and we see this in training all the time, we're like 1 turn past bad words and they're already wincing at the 2nd turn. At which point, you know, you have to realize that pain is subjective. So that turn past bad words, you can still have a radial pulse or a femoral artery pulse, like all of these things. So when you're in the moment, in the situation, you have to be looking at the bleed to verify that it stops.
We see students all the time, right? Because pain is mental. It's cerebral. We see people wincing before they've even started to turn the windlass. It's like, dude, get out of your own head. Stop, right? Like you have front-loaded this experience with your opinion that this should be painful. Therefore, before you've even started to turn the windlass, you're already wincing. It's like you need to go the complete other end of the spectrum to where you don't even care about this thing on your arm or your leg. We have to continue to problem solve for the preservation of life. All right. Let's get through this. 9:06. I'll never forget that time. Language was a real problem. I used the shears to cut his pants to take a better look at his leg. Exactly. S March E. One of the E's is exposed. Discovered that there were multiple broken bones sticking through his skin. Violates the ABCs left and right. So I started to wrap it up to stop the bleed. I used all the gauze in both kits between his leg and his head. I used liquid glue for his arm. By this time, I can hear sirens in the distance. I breathed a sigh of relief. I felt as though I had a better chance. I felt as though he had a better chance than before I got there. The first officer on the scene asked who put the tourniquet on, and I said I did. I explained I tried to put it where the hip meets the leg, but his friend kept getting in the way. So take the guy away, and he puts his tourniquet on the injured man. Good job, officer. I offered to write the time for the officer on his tourniquet. He did not have a place on the tourniquet, so I wrote it on the man's jeans, as well as both times on his arm. Good job. Also, you can put a T on their forehead, okay? That's part of why we have a Sharpie, is to put a T on the forehead. I'm less concerned about the time tab when we have the golden hour than I am when we don't have the golden hour.
Yep.
Golden hour is 60 minutes from the point of injury to a definitive level of care, aka the hospital. And so all of the white paper data tells us before we even begin on a COTC recommended windlass tourniquet, before we even begin to have a threat to muscle and nerve damage, is somewhere between 108 and 165 minutes. And then once we go past 165 minutes, then the statistical incidence of long-term muscle and nerve damage goes up from there.
Yep.
Long and short, depending on which white paper you read, 2 hours to 6 hours for tourniquet application, no long-term side effects. So I've got the golden hour, the first 60 minutes. I don't even care about the time, all right? But I'm going to put a T on their forehead, whether it's with my Sharpie or with my gloved finger with the patient's own blood on their forehead, so that when we elevate, when they end up in the patient ends up in the back of the ambo, if they're covered with a Mylar blanket, covered with an APLS to push body heat back towards the core, because bleeding and hypothermia are 2/3 of the lethal triad. Yep. Right? I don't want EMS to miss that tourniquets have been applied because they can't see them because they're covered up with blankets. So that's why we put a T on the forehead so that everybody knows this patient has tourniquets on. Yep. So that they'll check for tourniquets. Because every time we move the patient, whether that's out of the roadway to the gurney, out of the ambo into the hospital, every time we move the patient, we need to recheck our medical interventions, including tourniquets, to make sure they haven't come loose. Mm-hmm. What happens if I blunt force trauma your leg? Is it going to stay the same size?
Probably not.
Usually swells up, right? Yeah. Okay. So we apply a tourniquet to a swollen limb. Yep. And over time, that swelling goes down. Yep. I'm losing arterial constriction.
Ooh, that's real. Yep.
Right? And so we want to recheck and recheck and recheck. That's why in our brain, every time we move the patient, we recheck our medical interventions, which is why we put a T on their forehead, because if I hand them off to somebody else that doesn't know they have a tourniquet, yep, and they're not rechecking those interventions, that patient could begin to bleed out again.
Which also implies that, you know, if you're handing off to higher care, which that's the only time you would be handing a patient off if you are in direct care of an individual.
That's a great word.
You're only handing them off to someone of equal, yep, or higher skill set.
Yep. Otherwise,
never
it's
lower.
Gross negligence. Yep.
And you can be held legally liable for that.
Yep.
But with that said, always handing off to higher care, which implies that you need to be doing your due diligence to communicate on a verbal basis and make sure that they know exactly what it is that you did.
So she wrote the time on the guy's jeans. Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. Then I knelt down and prayed over him and asked God to help him. Good job. Next, I heard EMS coming. They loaded him very quickly. It was good fortune that there was a hospital 1 mile south of the accident. I slept about 3 hours that night. I prayed and prayed for that man that he'd be saved. It wasn't until 5 days later I found out the man was alive. I thanked God for his blessing on this man and to help me recall everything I had watched and learned from Bear and Refuge videos. I'm so grateful and blessed. I've never come to class, but I praise God for you all, Bear and the whole team. If it weren't for all of your hard work, I would not have had the knowledge to help. Blessed to have a resource like Refuge Medical. I didn't save that man. God did, with the help of Refuge Medical. God bless Bear, his family, and the entire team at Refuge Medical. I am a customer for life. P.S. I will be buying a kit for every family member. It may take me a while, but I believe after going through this, everyone needs a kit in their car. Life is too precious to waste. Thank you again for all you guys do. May God keep you all safe. Penny. Sister, I'm glad you were there. And
Good job.
Penny, you can come to any class you want, no cost, sister. You just email us and let me know when you're coming. I want you to have these skills, okay? And for everybody else, you need to come to class. And until you can physically come here and be in this building or in that building or up on the side of that mountain with us, go watch the trauma medicine playlist, refugemedical.com, hit the training tab. It's free. There's a playlist on this YouTube channel right now that you're at Refuge, which you should be subscribed to.
Yeah.
There's a trauma medicine playlist. Watch it. It's free. Take the online webinar. It's $99. If you buy a certain amount of a thing or whatever, you get it for free. Watch that. Sit down and do it. Don't just consume the information with your brain while you're eating your tuna fish sandwich on lunch today. Do it with your hands so you have at least some muscle memory so that when, not if, but when you need these skills, which are perishable, by the way, when you need these skills, you don't have to think about it. You have the automaticity to be able to do it under stress. And that's the benefit of class. That's how class works. Is it starts crawl, walk, run. It starts with lecture and practical application. Let me teach you a little bit. Let's do it a little bit together with our hands. I do, we do, you do. And it ends with chaos. Chaos. Stress-induced scenario-based training. We make you navigate chaos for the preservation of life. And I've had many students who have written in, who have gone on to save a life, who've written in and said, you know what? The real thing was less stressful than class.
Yeah.
Good, that's the point. Stress inoculation. I want when you have to do it for real, you're like, got this. No big deal.
The biggest factor is everybody thinks they're going to be the hero in their own situation, and that's quite legitimately impossible. There's myriads of factors to that. One, you don't know what you don't know. Two, if you don't have the skill set, how are you going to rise to the occasion? Now, there are certain circumstances and situations that you can effectively think yourself through, because a lot of it's very logical. This guy's bleeding. How do I keep the blood in the body? Let's stop the bleed, right? However, there's a lot of factors surrounding that specific circumstance and that specific situation that will determine the level of care that you provide. And of course, what about the bystander? What about, oh, we're still in the street? And all of these things come into play. But if you go directly into immediate care without addressing the 18-wheeler that's coming down the road, full of chemicals.
But you brought it up earlier. My people perish for a lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
My people, says the Father, perish for a lack of knowledge. Which means what? Get knowledge. Go read Solomon and Proverbs.
Yeah.
Oh, you seek wisdom? Get wisdom. Get it. How do I get it? By getting wisdom.
Wisdom is the practical application of knowledge that one has gained throughout their life.
Yeah, it's different than information.
It's not enough just to have the info inside. You have to have actual hands-on experience within whatever realm it is. Like, I've played guitar for 26 years. I don't have just knowledge.
Yep.
I can watch video after video after video of how to play whatever song, but until I actually put myself through that process of feeling the frets and picking the strings and all of that, it's the exact same thing with applying a tourniquet.
Well, think about, I play drums.
Yeah.
Right? I can explain how to hold a drumstick to you.
Right.
I can make a anywhere from 30-second to 30-minute tutorial on just how to hold a drumstick. Or just put one in your hand and find the natural point of balance and understand, oh, got it now, right? We can short circuit all of that with just do it. Just hold it. Okay, now move it. Yep. Okay? Same thing. He can show you, oh, this chord is this. Okay, now do it.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything to just have the information if you can't actually apply it. What were you trying to say, Lauren?
Oh, Mike said you don't have time to think, only react.
Yep.
And think about some some of the students that we've had, like we had that one lady that came in and under duress, she just started shooting everyone.
Uh-huh.
And instead of actually gauging what was happening in the situation, we were like, you shouldn't carry a gun in the real world.
Yeah.
You know, like.
I will reserve my comments about professionals on that
But it's super
Yeah.
true.
as well.
It's super true.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had, yeah. You don't know what you don't know until you put it to the test. And that's one of the functions of class.
It's the whole point.
Let's shift gears a little bit. We're going kind of long today. There was another school shooting yesterday. Another one in Colorado. I cannot harp on preservation of life enough. Law enforcement officers, EMS, TEMS, we have to be willing to admit that we are not as good as we think we are.
Mm-hmm.
We have to take ego and hubris and throw it to the side and admit we don't know as much as we should know. Because there's always room for improvement. There's always room for improvement. There's always room for improvement. We just had, it was last week, there was a church that was shot up. The fact that that church got shot up was, for the first time ever, the reason that I put our Refuge Defender series of classes available to the public.
Yep.
It's usually taught by appointment, private only. But these skills need to get out there into the world. School shooters are horrendous. And let me just be frank. No more gray man. The time for gray man is over. Okay? You could put that little sign up on the door that's got the outline of a Beretta 92 with a red circle and a line through it. You put that wherever you want. I don't care. I don't. In fact, I've been at, we'll just say this. I've been at events on school properties where people have gone and snitched to the school resource officer. That man has a gun. And the school resource officer said, uh-huh. You should be thankful that he does. He's one of us. In fact, he trains us. You see all those guys over there? They know more than we do. You should go say thank you to that man for having a gun here, because if anything bad was to happen here, those guys are on our team. Now, I have a pre-existing relationship with the school resource officer. Well, that's you, Bear. You're a person too. Go talk to people. Go have conversations. Buy somebody a cup of coffee.
Present yourself as an asset to those
Yeah.
who are in that position.
What do they need? How can you help? How can we coordinate? How can you work together?
Because in the event that something happens, that's John. He's on our side.
Good guy. Remember when Uvalde went down? I went to our local law enforcement and I said, hey, I just want to let you know, if that ever happens at one of our schools, me and my boys are coming. Don't get in our way.
Without question.
We're on your team, okay? But we're going in. I will not be stopped. If one of my kids is inside of there when that's happening, I will not be stopped. We are the good guys, okay? So that's called deconfliction.
Yep.
And they were like, roger that, understood. Thank you for letting us know. Now, how do we coordinate together if something like that happens? The time for gray man's over. We need to go to presence patrols. As sons and daughters of the Most High, that this world needs to know that there is a force, there is a spirit indwelt in us that is not to be trifled with. Now you have to balance this with meekness, wisdom, and discernment from the Spirit. Just because you have a sword doesn't mean go swinging it around all over the place.
Yep.
But we have traded meekness for weakness. We've been indoctrinated with this idea that you should just be a really nice person. And that is not accurate. Nice is not biblical.
I can preach on this for hours.
Tolerating evil is not Christian. Fearing the darkness is not Christian.
Yeah.
The light shines into the darkness, and the darkness comprehendeth it not. Okay? Be the light. No man lights a lamp and puts it underneath a basket. That's not just gospel, although it's certainly gospel.
Yeah.
but it's your presence and the Spirit flowing through you
Yep.
for all the world to see. Oh, but they might kill me like they killed Charlie. Messiah told us the servant's not greater than the master.
They killed him too.
And they killed him.
Yep.
Okay, but he died for the preservation of life. Okay?
Yep.
So this gray man flying underneath the radar, I don't want people to know I'm over it. I'm 100% over it. It's presence patrols now. It's hard posture. Pick somewhere else to start your shenanigans with, because I will not coexist with evil.
Yep.
I won't do it. I refuse to do it. Don't bring any of that bullshit around me or my people, because they won't coexist with evil either.
Which implies that you need to have a capacity for violence. If you do not have the capacity for violence, that doesn't make you peaceful. That makes you harmless.
Yep.
You don't have a choice.
Yep.
The only way you can operate in any level of meekness is if you possess tangible skills to execute violence when and only when it's necessary.
The kingdom of heaven suffers violence, and violent men take it by force.
That's right.
There's a difference between killing and murder. Murder's premeditated. Murder's not allowed. But if somebody runs into this office building or runs into our assembly and just starts shooting, and we shoot back and put the threat down, that's killing. And that's killing for the preservation of life.
Their intent was murder.
Yep.
Our intent was to preserve life.
100%. And we've lost this as a culture. This was understood. I feel like somewhere around the time when I was a kid, like I know my dad and his friends would not have tolerated any of this shit that we're seeing today. And as that generation has passed on, it's just gone. I remember I had a guy who worked for me, still one of my best friends, but he was having a rough day. His name was Joe. And we'd been out cutting timber all day. We get home, we're back at my house. We're sitting at the kitchen table, and we're having a couple of beers. My dad's there, and Joe's just pissed off. He's in a bad mood. And he was wearing one of my Morris Company shirts, right? And I'm like, what's your problem, bro? And he's like, man, F you, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, all right, well, simmer down. And he pulls my shirt off, my company shirt off, and throws it at me, hits me in the face. And as I'm peeling the shirt off of my face, I hear, and I pull the shirt off my face, and there's my dad standing over Joe, who he just knocked out of the chair onto the ground. He looked at another friend of mine, Justin Crow, and he said, Crow, pull that fucking car around. So Crow pulls his car around. My dad walks over to the door, opens the door, picks up Joe, who's about 210 pounds, picks him up by the back of his neck and his belt, carries him to Crow's car. He goes, open the fucking door. Crow opens the door. He throws him across the back seat. I'll never forget the sound of Joe's head hitting the inside of the door on the other side. Just chucks him in the back seat, slams the car door, looks at Justin Crow, and he goes, get him the fuck out of here. He walks back inside, and he says, don't ever let anybody disrespect our name like that again.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, sir, understood. Years later, my buddy Joe looks me up and he says, hey, you want to hang out? I'm like, I don't know. Did you pull the hair out of your ass? And he's like, yeah, I'm good, man. And he's like, you think Sam's going to be okay with me coming over to hang out? I said, well, you should probably have a conversation with him. He's like, okay. So he comes back over to the house and he walks in, and the first thing my dad says to him is he goes, am I have to kick your ass again? And he goes, no, sir. I'm so sorry, sir. He goes, okay, behave yourself. This was 20 years ago, not even. Yeah. Where is that today? It's gone. And well, we shouldn't be violent. No, we should have the capacity for violence, for corrective action, and for the preservation of life. My dad and the men that I grew up with would not tolerate this society that we are in today. They would not allow it. And yet here we are. My dad grew up in Kansas, Midwest, right? My whole dad's side of the family's from the Midwest. And they'd fight for all the right reasons at the drop of a hat. Yeah. But they would also protect women and children. I know 100%. It, seen it, okay? Where is that? Where is that spirit? How do we revive that Americana in the model of Christ? And I think the answer is live it.
The days of standing by, doing this number here,
Yo,
filming, that needs to go away.
I'll crush your phone.
We need people
Let me see it. I'll
in
crush your
situ
phone.
to stand up and respond with effective opposite action.
I think, and I'll come around so I can say this.
Speaking to your husband's collarbone.
Yeah.
Come here, baby.
I think that's where, when we hear that we're not meant to see this kind of thing, it's not necessarily that we shouldn't understand the massive bleeding and like the reality of that situation. Our brains weren't meant to watch someone die in front of our eyes and scroll to the next video and laugh.
Mm-hmm.
It's not meant to do that. You're supposed to process things. That's the aspect that is unstable and wrong.
That's
and
right.
the problem is that everybody's going around filming it and watching people die in front of them instead of helping. And it just, cell phones suck. And I say that as someone whose entire job is reliant on electronics, but people have lost so much humanity just because now it's behind the phone. Even the way they talk to other people over the phone. You'd never say it to their face, but you'll sure as heck text it. You know what I mean? It's We've got to get a grasp, and we've got to teach our kids to not continue. Those of us who have the sense have got to instill in our children to behave in the way that they should go and not as the world is teaching them to go, because that's why we are the way, that's why we're in the situation right now.
Yeah.
Humanity. Humanity. We must not lose our humanity. And maintaining humanity requires the ability to be forceful and deadly for the preservation of life. And I'm just over this really nice Christian bullshit. I don't get that in Messiah at all.
So you were created in the Father's image, correct?
Yeah.
Exodus 15:3. Yahweh is a warrior. Yahweh is his name.
Yep.
If he is a warrior, if the creator of the universe is a God of war, and you were created in that image, which coincidentally, it's incredibly interesting that he is a man of war, and yet he is all love.
Look at David. Mashiach ben David.
Yeah.
Right? They wrote songs about the tens of thousands of men that David put down in battle. Right? And yet his heart was after the Most High. Did he make mistakes? Absolutely. Bathsheba, anyone?
Right.
Dude made plenty of mistakes. But he always returned back to the Father. And
that's right.
You know, go read Deuteronomy 32. Okay? I mean, for a fire was kindled in my wrath and burns to the bottom of Sheol and consumes the earth in its increase and sets on fire the foundations of the mountains. I gather evils upon them. I use up my arrows upon them, wasted by scarcity of food and consumed by heat and bitter destruction. And the teeth of beasts I send upon them with the poison of serpents of the dust. The sword bereaves from the outside and fear from within, both young man and maiden, nursing child, and the man of gray hairs. I said I should blow them away. I should make the remembrance of them to cease from among them. If I did not fear the enemy's taunt, lest their adversaries misunderstand, lest they say, our hand is high and Yahweh has not done this. For they are a nation lost to counsel, and there's no understanding in them. If they were wise, they would understand this. They would consider their latter end. How would one chase 1,000 and two put 10,000 to flight unless their rock had sold them and Yahweh had given them up? For their rock is not like our rock. Even our enemies are judges. Their vine is the vine of Sodom, and the fields of Gomorrah. Their grapes are grapes of gall. Their clusters are bitter. Their wine is the poison of serpents and the fierce venom of cobras. Is it not stored up with me, sealed among my treasures? Vengeance is mine, and repayment. At the time their foot slips, for near is their day of calamity, and the matters prepared are hastening them. For Yahweh rules his people, rightly rules his people, and has compassion on his servants when he sees that their power is gone and there is none remaining shut up or at large. See now that I am he, and there is no Elohim beside me. I put to death and I make alive. I have wounded and I heal, and from my hand no one delivers.
Yep.
For if I lift my hand to the heavens and shall say, as I live forever, if I have sharpened my flashing sword and my hand takes hold on judgment, I shall return vengeance to my enemies and repay those who hate me. I make my arrows drunk with blood, and my sword devours flesh with the blood of the slain and the captives from the long-haired enemy chiefs.
That's prophetic.
And
it's
brutal.
100%, but every bit of its implications tie to the coming end of the age.
Not only that, but that's what he is not just willing, promises he will do in defense of his people.
Without holding back.
And in the meanwhile, if you're fearfully and wonderfully created in his image,
yeah,
that's part of his image. And we need to stop stifling that. So you could be a really nice guy and just throw a check in a silver plate when it comes around and go about your life pretending to walk in the model of Messiah. Because you are not. If all you have is niceness, you're not. You're not walking in the model of Messiah. Do better.
Not trying to turn this conversation into that, but there has been, over the last few years, this attack against men and using the term toxic masculinity. That's what men were created to be. That is what is required of us, to have the knowledge, the understanding, the skill set, and the discernment to know when to utilize effective tactics against another.
So, go all the way back to the garden. The serpent, the enemy, the Nahash, has enmity between himself and the seed of the woman. The woman's always prophetic, okay? This is the seed of Messiah, the church, if you will, the assembly, the body, the ecclesia. Okay. The seed, offspring, reproduction of. Look at everything that's happening in the world today. It all ties back to one broad concept, which is depopulation. The food is poison, the air is poison, the water is poison, the soil's been poisoned, the medicine is poison. How many pregnancy centers exist that are the exact opposite of pregnancy centers, right? Experimental medications that destroy the reproductive systems of people. The killing of children at school is depopulation. Mass shooters, starvation, famine, forced famine. Look at certain political beliefs, aka communism, that's killed hundreds of millions of its own people. It's all depopulation. It's all against life. It's the opposite of life. Messiah is for life and life abundantly. So if it's not for life, it's not for Messiah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does that tell you? Who's driving all this opposite of life, this depopulation, this idea? We've reached carrying capacity for humans on Earth. We can't have any more people on Earth. The Earth can't carry it. You can take all 8.5 billion people and put them in the state of Texas and still have room. You still have room just in the state of Texas. I'm not recommending we do that, but they would fit.
Yeah.
Okay. What
about population density? Holy
What
cow.
about the remainder of the entirety of the planet? Oh, the polar ice caps and the CO2 and shut up.
It's all nonsense.
It's all nonsense. It's all demoralizing, and it's against life. And if it's against life, it's against Messiah.
It's a narrative designed to perpetuate fear so that they can control you.
And with that, we're going to end with this. It's September 11th. Keep your head on a swivel today, please. I have no credible intel that things are going to get weird today. But the possibility always exists, and there's a heightened possibility on days like today. So keep your head on a swivel. Don't take any unnecessary risk, but don't tolerate any bullshit either. You should have a long gun within arm's reach at all times. You should have a weapon on you and med on you, and you should know how to use them 24/7, 365, regardless of what the date is. as we continue to circle the drain geopolitically, what's likely to come next is chaotic destabilization, aka infrastructural attacks. Just be aware of that. Do the things. Preservation of life. So, with that, I must pee.
Do it.
I'm going to call it a show. You want this microphone? Tell them about, Lauren, now that we've scared the shit out of everybody, tell them about what we have upcoming. Come here, you can have my microphone.
Hey everybody. Okay, so we have a few classes coming up really quickly. At the end of October, we have the Essential Responder. That's a 2-day, 20-hour class. I think it's 10 hours a day.
Yeah, it's approximate. I mean, we don't teach to time. We teach to standard. So we're going to teach until you get it.
Yeah.
So if we have to go longer, we will, because it's more important not for us to keep a schedule, but it's rather more important for us to actually finish the curriculum and make sure that you have legitimate understanding of what it is that we're teaching, because every bit of this is truly and legitimately life-saving skill.
So that's a 2-day class. And then in November, so that was October 26th, 27th, we have the Essential Responder. November 9th through 11th, we have our second Train the Trainer. This is a 3-day class.
That's going to be a good
The
one.
last time we did it was 2 days, and we realized you just cannot fit the amount of information and training and scenarios into 2 days. So we've moved it to 3 days. If you've ever taken a class with us before, anything in person, if it's remote responder, not remote, refuge responder, essential responder, I think that's really the only two that might qualify.
Oh, wilderness responder?
I don't think wilderness qualifies for Train the Trainer, but I could be wrong on that. So if you took wilderness and you want to do Train the Trainer, hit us up and we'll see about that.
Quite a few of our individuals who came to wilderness responder had already done the Train the Trainer. So good on them. But if you are a past alumni of the Essential Responder,
Refuge Responder,
you are
qualified to take the class.
Thank you for the word. You're qualified for our Train the Trainer, and we want to equip you to be able to go out and teach others these skills.
Yeah. If you can't tell, we're married, so it's okay. We can finish each other's sentences. The Train the Trainer, that is meant for people who want to either A, go out and train their community, put on classes for free for their church, their friends, their family, or B, people who want to make an actual training business in partnership with us. You would become a refuge training partner.
Or bolt on medical to a pre-existing.
Or bolt on our curriculum to a pre-existing training that you already do and teach.
Yep.
So if you choose to do the refuge training partner side of things, you would literally be partnering with us. We would help you set up your classes. You would pick the venue, tell us how many students. We will handle the advertisements and all of that. It's really amazing. We've had 2 of our guys that were at our last one just finished up their second class, which went amazing, and we had good feedback from that. So we were really excited about that.
We're at in Indianapolis.
Sorry, I'm getting over a cold. Indianapolis, yes. So that's coming up in October. We do have the Refuge Defender in, I want to say, is it February, Harmony? When is Refuge Defender? I can't remember the day.
It's not in the
calendar yet. But it's in 2026, and it's early in the year.
Yeah, it's not in the...
Harmony's checking right now. And then we have, what else we have? Oh, we have Wilderness 2026 is in the books, and it's already selling. So that is going to be May of 2026. Yeah. So if you want that spot, we have people who have done payment plans because it is our highest priced class for good reason. It is a 72-hour class. You're sleeping out in the wilderness. It's 3 days. It's amazing.
But it's well worth it. It's such a good experience.
He just got back from it. So yeah. It was really awesome. I think we had really good feedback. I'm excited to hear, actually get the reviews in from that.
Yep.
But some of those people just bought their spot like months in advance and then just made payments throughout. So if you want to do PayPal or Affirm, or you need to do it in-house, we can work with you on payment plans for the wilderness responder. Quit touching that.
Sorry,
It's loud.
it's a button.
Thank you. February 8th on the Refuge Defender 1, which is going to be the church security team training. We do have a deal going on right now where you get a slick kit and tourniquets. We have a bundle on the slick kit and the tourniquet. We have a couple other bundles right now for National Preparedness Month. Some of them are like really good deals. You might want to go check it out. Go to the website. Can they type in bundles, Harmony? You should be able to type in bundles and you'll find the combo things that we put together for specific things. Like there is a travel fact bundle right now with a free quick clot and a free rescue me. And there are some other really, really awesome deals like that. So with that said, I'm going to go push the button and let Heath tell you bye. Bye from me. Okay.
All right, so let's just go ahead and end this with prayer.
And then the website, because I forgot.
Huh?
And then the website, because I forgot.
Yeah, if there's anything that you guys are desiring, whether it be medical training, medical supplies, kits, you have a police force that needs trained, or you want, your church trained up or anything like that, we'd love to help you guys. We'd love to train you. There are opportunities for us to come to you, or you guys can come to us. Either way, send us an email, training@refugemedical.com, or, just give us a quick phone call, and we'll do everything that we can to help you guys out. But with that said, let's go ahead and end this with prayer. Father, thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to share the truth of your word and to be able to share life-saving skills with people who truly need it. Father, I ask that you would bless everybody who is viewing this. Father, I ask that you would bless our mission, and that is to save lives while in service to your kingdom as we experience the abundance and provision of your blessing. Bless us in that. And Father, I ask that you would keep your hand over Charlie Kirk's wife and children. Bless that family, those parents. And Father, anybody else who is grieving, I ask that you would give them peace that surpasses all understanding, and ultimately be their provider in this situation and in this time. Keep your hand over them. Father, I ask that you would bless Refuge as we endeavor to do your work. And Father, if there's anyone out there who is struggling, who needs help, who would like to experience your peace, Father, I ask that you would touch them, put your hand on them, pursue them by your Spirit, and let them know that you are real, and show them the fullness of your love. For you so loved the world that you gave your only Son, that whoever would believe in him, whoever would believe in Jesus, they would not perish but would have everlasting life. And we ask for and desire that in your Son's name, Yeshua. We love you, Father. Father, I ask that you'd bless these people, and we give you honor. Amen. All right, guys. Bless you. Shalom. Anything that you need, refugemedical.com.